Here we are on week 4 of Mental Health Month, and today we're going to talk about behavior train. So today is a little bit shorter than the other weeks, um, but I love this particular skill. It is extremely powerful. You put this into play, and it can really make a difference. Now, I think the other skills are a foundation for this. And so you learn to be validating and kind to yourself. You learn self compassion. You learn about boundaries. And now you have the ability to create the behavior that will make your life better using behavior train. So, the problem people run into is getting yourself to do the things that you don't feel like doing. We all have things we know that if we did, that would make our lives better. Behaviors that would make us more skillful, behaviors that would create a lot more happiness. And then what happens is our feelings get in the way. We don't want to do those behaviors for one reason or another. And so behavior train is really about getting yourself to be able to stop being distracted by those feelings and instead to be able to do what works. Do the behavior that works to create the outcomes that you want. So the solution to that problem, behavior train. Here's the context. There's 3 parts to the train we're talking about. We're going to talk about the locomotive, and we'll talk about the cars, and we'll talk about the caboose. And so for the locomotive, this is what I'm labeling with behavior. The locomotive represents your behaviors. The cars represent your thinking, your thoughts. And so there are all kinds of thoughts that we have that can either get in the way of doing behaviors or help us do behaviors. Most of the time, in this context, these are thoughts that get in the way, like, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'll probably fail. This never works out, etc. Those sorts of things. I'm wrong. That's a frequent one. I think I'm wrong about this. I think it's my fault. And then feelings, guilt, fear, shame, anxiety, anger, sadness, etc. Those are the feelings, and those are represented by the caboose on the train. So we have behaviors that you do, that's the locomotive. The thoughts that you have, those are represented by the cars in between the locomotive and the caboose. And the caboose we use to represent the feelings that you have. So the behavior comes first, then come the thoughts, then come the feelings. So, what happens when you have a train? Imagine there's this toy train you have, and you're pushing it with the caboose. So, what you can see is that pushing it with a caboose means the train pretty much goes nowhere. When your feelings are in charge of your behavior, in other words, you end up going nowhere. You're off track in your goals, you might say. And so your thoughts, your behavior, they're just sort of all over the place when your feelings are what is pushing your behavior. When your locomotive is pulling you, however, when your behavior is in front, then you're pulling your thinking and your feelings into alignment with that behavior. It's a gradual thing. So what I mean by it's a gradual thing, it takes time. It's you have to imagine that you have a very long train and that you're pulling for quite a while before everything is finally falling into alignment behind that locomotive. Eventually, it will always work. So here's a few examples. Here are a few examples. First one, this is a personal example for me about going to the gym. So I wanted to go to the gym in the sense of I knew it was an important life goal for me to go to the gym. But my feelings, if you consult them, they did not want to go to the gym at all. And so I just kind of said, all right, I'm going to do the behavior of going to the gym. I'm going to pull with the locomotive. And the feelings and the thoughts can just kind of hang out. And I don't really care what they say or think because it's not going to create a different behavior. I'm just going to go to the gym, and if I want to hate going to the gym, I'm allowed to hate it the whole time I go. In other words, um, I'm not making my feelings be anything other than just hanging out. And so I allow myself to feel however I feel about going to the gym, but I don't allow myself to do whatever behavior. I allow myself to only do one behavior, which is go to the gym. And so I would go to the gym, I would go to the gym, I would go to the gym. And most of the time, I really didn't want to go to the gym. I found out that if I just would put my shoes on and drive out of my driveway, then I was really going to go to the gym. It's awfully hard to turn around once you're headed in that direction. Maybe not hard, but it's unlikely that I would turn around. And so, really, it was the only like maybe a 3-minute problem, just the problem of putting my shoes on and driving out the driveway. Once I did that, then I was pretty much going to go to the gym. Not that I liked it. I never really liked it, or at least not for a while. I didn't like it, but I went. And so behavior train means the locomotive is going to the gym and it's just pulling the thoughts and the feelings behind it. One day I woke up and I found out that I wanted to go to the gym. It was kind of a shock to me because I never saw myself as that person who wanted to go to the gym. So that would be an example of a thought that might have gotten in the way, is my thinking, oh, I'm not that kind of a person. But I wanted to go to the gym because I'd been going to the gym consistently and my thoughts and feelings had finally become in alignment with going to the gym. Here's another example, being a friend. A lot of times we worry that our friends think funny things about us, or they don't like us, or they think that we're weird, or whatever it is. There are lots of things that get in the way of relationships in terms of your thoughts and your feelings. And so being a friend a lot of times is about doing the behavior that is friendship behavior, caring behavior, reaching out, lifting up. And so when you're doing those things, you're creating friendship. When you're sitting in your own little place worrying about, does that person like me? Do they think I'm weird? Do they like me enough? Do they really accept me? Do they think I'm wrong? Well, that's not friendship behavior. That's your own wallowing in insecurity. And the more you do that, and the more you ask people to reassure you, the more you will wallow in insecurity, because when you're asking them to reassure you, all you're doing is reinforcing your wallowing. So I think it's really critical to understand asking for reassurance is going to result in more wallowing behaviors, more misery, actually. And so instead of asking for reassurance, focus on the behavior of doing whatever the behaviors are that create friendship, reaching out, caring, calling, saying, hey, was thinking about you. How are you doing? Tell me about your day. How can I support you? That's an example of being a friend. You want to overcome the doubts that you have, because remember, you're not driving with your thoughts, you're driving with your behavior. And so this is a really key point. People get stuck because they're waiting for their feelings to get it together first before they move on to doing the behavior. This is the wrong order. Do it in the opposite order. And this is where the power of this principle comes in. It's a short and small principle, and it is extremely powerful. Do the behavior first and just let those feelings ride until they change. And here's another example, creating a business. I actually worked with a wonderful woman named Laura. She knows who she is, right? And her goal was to move and open up a hair salon in her new place where she moved. And she told me that she was worried and she had all kinds of thoughts that would get in the way of doing that, and lots of feelings that would get in the way of doing that. And if she had just listened to her thoughts and feelings, she would probably not have moved and probably not have ever opened up this hair salon. She used behavior train. And so instead of paying any attention to the thoughts and feelings, what she did was she just focused on the behavior. What are the things to do to create the business? And you just do those things no matter what you're thinking or feeling. You don't have to get your feelings all together first before you act. You act first. You act first, then let the feelings eventually fall into alignment like they're at the very end of the train. So this requires commitment, commitment to behavior. You're binding yourself to an outcome. It requires sacrifice. You have to put up with anxiety. You have to stop avoiding. Those things are a pain. We don't want to do them. And again, if you wanted to do them, you would, that would not be the life that we live. And you saw the results with the earlier train falling all over the place, right? So you focus on your intention. You keep that intention foremost in your thoughts. And you do that first thing that you do is your intention. So you act your way into choosing your outcomes. With behavior train, you're choosing behavior to create the outcomes rather than letting your feelings choose. It's not about feeling powerful enough to do it first. It's about doing it. You do it and then you will feel powerful. Right? So that's the critical piece of understanding. You don't wait to feel like I'm powerful, like I can do it first. You go do the behavior. And then later on it occurs to you, oh, you know what? I can do those things. So practice today. Start small. Get a sense. What can you do? Focus on a small goal, maybe a goal for today, and practice moving your mind away from your feelings, away from the thoughts that interfere. Just do the behavior. And you can think one step at a time. I'm just going to do one thing at a time, do the behavior, stay on track, locomotive forward. Great. Take care.